Good evening, and welcome to the meeting of the Board of School Directors of the School District of Springfield Township. And I would like us to stand and for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thanks. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A reading of the mission statement. The mission of the School District of Springfield Township is to educate and develop all students as learners and citizens who are high-achieving, resilient, and responsible in a changing global community. Mr. King, roll call.
Mr. Guard. Here. Mr. Chapman. Here. Ms. Jordan. Here. Mr. Lapidus. Ms. Nelson. Here. Mr. Rayer. Ms. Sarsfield. Here. Ms. Lipinski. Here. Dr. Taratuski.
Here. Announcements. The board at its discretion may videotape all or any portion of public board meetings subject to the limitations set forth in Policy 006.2, Broadcasting of Meetings. Board meetings will be broadcast on Friday afternoon following the board meeting. Are there any public comments on agenda items?
I want to sign up for the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Approval of minutes. May 1st, 2018 interim meeting, board minutes O, and May 14th, 2018 regular meeting, board minutes P. Is there a motion? And a second? Second. Any comments or questions? Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard. Aye. Mr. Chapman. Aye. Ms. Jordan. Aye. Ms. Nelson. Aye. Ms. Sarsfield. Aye. Ms. Lipinski. Aye. Dr. Taratuski.
Aye. Approval of Treasurer's Report, Treasurer's Report K. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second? Any comments or questions?
Mr. Bedard. Aye. Mr. Chapman. Aye. Ms. Jordan. Aye. Ms. Nelson. Aye. Ms. Sarsfield. Aye. Ms. Lipinski. Aye. Dr. Taratuski.
Aye. Reports and information. Number 1, recognitions and awards. Dr. Hacker?
Thank you, Dr. Taratuski. So we have a number of people who I am assuming are here this evening to help join us in terms of recognizing the many accomplishments of our various retirees who have given service to the School District of Springfield Township. So welcome to everyone who is here this evening. The first person that I would like to recognize is not a retiree, and unfortunately he's only been with us for a very short period of time, but it's been an absolute pleasure. So Dan Ortiz, would you come forward so we can recognize you? So Dan, as many of you are well aware, is our assistant principal at the high school. He just started, unfortunately, at the start of the school year. Actually, fortunately for us, we were able to have him for a full year this year. He made an indelible mark at the high school. He did an absolutely phenomenal job establishing relationships with kids right off the bat. They automatically felt that he was someone that they could turn to. They respected him. Parents respected him, even when he had tough messages that he had to deliver about what their students were doing. He worked with us in terms of the turf field and getting that ready for play in the fall. He worked with all of the construction issues that have now started, of course, in terms of the planning for all of the details in terms of the facilities in the athletic area and the use of the fields. So in one short year, it was like he worked for us for 10 years, and I'm sure it felt that way, Dan, on many an occasion. That may be why he's getting out of Dodge as quickly as he can. I certainly hope that's not the case, but Dan, I do want you to understand that your short time here meant so much to all of us. You really did leave your mark. I know that I've had many conversations with Dan about his next steps in Upper Dublin. If we have to lose him to any school district, that's a good district to lose him to. I know that his family is over there, his kids are over there, and Dan being Dan, his family is more important to him than everything else. So I know that he's going to have a wonderful tenure over at Upper Dublin. I'm only hoping that one day, Dan, you'll do the same thing to Upper Dublin that you did to us, and that you will come back here and that there'll be a spot for you and that we can welcome you back. So again, thank you for being here this evening so that I could just share these few brief remarks with you. I just wanted to make sure you understood how much you've been valued by everybody here. Thanks, Dan.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So with that, I'm going to ask Dr. Rittenhouse to come up. Dr. Rittenhouse?
Hello, everybody. For Mr. Young's family, I have said hello to a couple people. I'm Chuck Rittenhouse. I'm the high school principal. And I think there are 17 members of your family here, which certainly speaks to your character. I should have brought food, I'm sorry, or dinner. So, but it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to speak about Mr. Young. And I've been at the high school for 5 years. We've become friends. We've talked Eagles. We've talked Phillies. We've talked Springfield. We've talked Sixers. I don't know the Flyers. But yeah, we become friends because he's at the front desk, and I pass by the front desk a lot. So so I appreciate it. And every once in a while, with a rough game out there, I go out enthusiastically and then come back, and you're like, "How'd it go?" I'm like, "Have a good night." So, it's my pleasure to speak about Mr. Young. Mr. Norm Young, has been with the district for 14 years as our front desk security monitor. Mr. Young is also a military veteran, having proudly served America in the U.S. Army. He's the first face that people see when they visit, and he welcomes the many guests who come to our school for afternoon and evening events. Mr. Young is a visible and reliable presence for those students who stay after school for sports, clubs, or tutoring. And that's a lot of kids. That can be 50, 60, 70 kids in the afternoon. He's very patient, much more patient than I am, so does a great job with that. He's a friendly and calming voice on the phone for the parent who is panicked and maybe looking for their kid in the afternoon. He frequently speaks and mentors students near the desk, dispensing advice, helping with stuck lockers, or simply letting him use the phone. He is truly a friend to all the students. Every afternoon, staff and students look forward to hearing Mr. Young announce both afternoon buses over the intercom, and it's become quite famous. The late bus and the late bus, and the Go Eagles cheers, and I think that helped us to a Super Bowl this year. So he has kept all of us safe at the high school by speaking to, looking at, and approving every single visitor who enters the main entrance in the afternoon and evening. He's invaluable. He literally has been the eyes and ears for our wonderful high school. Over these 14 years, I would guess that he has assisted thousands upon thousands of students, parents, staff, and community members. Norm, Mr. Young, is a well-respected, valuable, hardworking, and beloved individual who will be sorely missed at Springfield Township High School. The entire high school community thanks you and wishes you a long and prosperous retirement. Mr. Norm Young, thank you.
All right, so good evening, everybody. I'm Zach Fuller. I'm the principal of the middle school, and it's my pleasure to congratulate Jeanette Klarman, who's here with us tonight. Jeanette is the IT specialist here at the middle school. She takes care of all of our computer, networking, database needs, and so much more. This year, Jeanette was in charge of 578 Chromebooks and their maintenance. And we got 577 of them back, thanks to her diligent efforts. There's one missing. I'll let you guess whose. You know, but so much more than that. Jeanette has gotten to know this building, has gotten to know how it works. She's really, what strikes me the most about Jeanette is her understanding of the inner workings of the middle school schedule, of what can and can't happen, of who can and can't go where, of what classes are related to one another, of who can teach what. It's amazing. It's amazing. And talking to Jeanette about anything to do with the middle school, she's open, she's willing to have the conversation, and she's excellent. And we're going to miss her. She's, I was told, like probably one of the first things I was told walking through the door in October was, Jeanette talks about retiring every year, and you can't let it happen. This year, I was told, it's been 2 years, she's said it, she's going to say it for a third year, you got to keep her, and I have failed. And so I should have made it one of my goals for the year, but I didn't do that. Make sure I've said everything I want to say. So she's got this wide breadth of knowledge. She understands the big picture. Jeanette is never one to say no. Like the other day, I was preparing for a conversation with Dr. Hacker because I wanted to say how many students had come into and left the middle school every year and what we could expect over the summer in terms of numbers. And I said to Jeanette, can we run a report on that? And she said, nah, I don't think so. Let me look into it. And then 20 minutes later, I had an email telling me exactly how many students had come into and out of the middle school. And that's just one example, but it's never a no. It's a not yet. And that's what we're about at the middle level. And that's what I'm going to miss most about Jeanette. So congratulations, Jeanette. And enjoy your retirement. I wish you a very prosperous retirement.
Who's up next?
Good evening, everybody. I have the honor and the privilege to recognize Mrs. Tricia Norette, who's been in our district since 2012 as an instructional aide. Prior to that, you were a second, and third, and fourth grade teacher. And what's amazing about your story is that you've had the opportunity to be a classroom teacher and then come back in the role of an instructional aide to be able to support multiple students with multiple needs. And one of the things that I think that's so profound about the work that you do is that you touch the students when they need the support. You support the teacher when they need the support. And you've had the opportunity to find those little areas where maybe the classroom teacher might have missed where you've been able to fill in. But what's also amazing about your story is that you've almost had the opportunity to kind of go full circle, that you've had the chance to be an elementary school teacher, and then you worked at the high school as an instructional aide, then you had the chance to finish off your career with us at Erdenheim Elementary School to support our students in 5th grade. And that's just, not everyone has the opportunity to finish off their careers kind of how they started it. And so we're thankful that you had the opportunity to do that. Prior in 2012, Ms. Norette was at our high school for about 5 years, and then she had the opportunity to come join our Erdenheim staff this year. And just the last day of school, we had our closing assembly. And we had the opportunity from the students who were in Mr. Hicks's classroom and Mr. Hicks to honor her. And one of the things that resonated, that stood true, the students shared and Mr. Hicks shared just how powerful of a presence that she brought to his classroom and how she was able to support the students in that space. And that just says so much about you and your presence. You've only been with us for a year, and yet you've had so much of an impact on the students and Mr. Hicks as a classroom teacher, and also our 5th graders. And so we want to take this opportunity to say thank you for the work that you do. As an instructional aide, you do a lot of the things that not often everybody gets the chance to see, because maybe you're not the classroom teacher, but know that on behalf of our students and the staff at Erdenheim Elementary School, we truly appreciate everything that you've done for our school community in a short time. So congratulations, and we wish you the best in your retirement. You're going to be missed.
this wonderful support person and instructional assistant. Guess what she wants to do in retirement? She wants to be a substitute teacher. Seriously, she's going back to work for SDST. So it's in your blood. And last, but certainly not least, of the retirees who have chosen to come this evening is Dr. Carl Atkinson, our wonderful assistant superintendent. Carl is retiring after, I was going to say 35. 30, that's long enough. That's a lot of years. That's a lot of years for anyone. Carl has had an incredibly distinguished career. Many of you know that he started his career in a private school, and then he ended up at our neighbor in Wissahickon teaching social studies, and I think just social studies. And they quickly recognized talent, and he ended up becoming a staff developer and coach working with teachers, and then a supervisor of secondary curriculum at Wissahickon. And then the Danielson group, and we all know the Danielson framework, came a calling to one of his friends who corralled him into going to work for the Danielson group, where he's been a consultant for the past number of years. And then he ended up at Saucon Valley School District, where he also served as assistant superintendent for, I believe, 6 years? 6 years. And then we were fortunate enough to get Carl. And I'll never forget, I got a phone call from Rob Jarvis, who many of you know at the University of Pennsylvania, who said, you have to hire this guy. He's really good stuff. You're really going to like him. And he certainly was absolutely dead on about that. Carl, as everyone knows, has been in charge of a multitude of responsibilities. As soon as he walked in the door, he had to take over implementation of our curriculum development and language arts, which was no small feat, either at the elementary level or moving on up. We had just begun with the writing-based curriculum. Lauren, I remember at the time at the middle school, couldn't wait to dive into it. And I said, well, at least wait and let Carl come in so we can discuss it with him. But we managed to see through all of those initiatives. He provided professional development for the staff so that they would know what they were doing with the implementation of the Journeys program. He worked on curriculum revision in science and health and physical education. We're still working on guidance, and of course another biggie this past year was the math curriculum review. And in between all of that, he served as our district-wide testing coordinator, which again is no small feat with the keystones and the PSSAs and all the testing that we do. He's been analyzing our data and looking and helping us to make decisions, providing professional development for staff, really revamping our Summer Learning Academy to make it much more rigorous and robust and meaningful for teachers so that the time that they're spending over the next several days and the next several weeks is really going to provide them with quality professional development. And that was a result of Carl coming in and really changing that program. And he's, of course, been our federal programs coordinator, a task he didn't exactly relish when he knew that was in his wheelhouse, but of course he's handled it perfectly through several monitorings. We always pass our monitorings with flying colors, thanks to Carl's attentiveness. He's been to the federal programs training, and he always brings back all the tips that he's learned from that. So he's just handled so many responsibilities. He's been a friend and a colleague to all of the administrators and to me as well. So Carl, again, this is for you in recognition. What are the plans?
Consulting work will pick up.
Good.
A little bit of rest.
Okay.
As well as a kitchen remodel.
Good one.
She's on vacation.
Waiting for 32 years.
Thank you, board. Thank you all.
Who's going to do the Congress? Okay.
let me apologize. Actually, it's great. It's a great honor to have an opportunity to speak about John Carpenter, who retired with us earlier this year. And I tell you, as soon as I walked in, I saw many faces who I wanted to say hello to. And as I worked my way across the room, I had to stop and engage in a wonderful conversation with you and your husband. I want to thank you for just your time and your commitment to our district and to our school community. I can tell you, in the years that you've worked with us, it's been a pleasure seeing you multiple times out in our small group instructional areas, spending time working with kids and trying to support kids. And one of the things that I remember most about you is that you always had this ability to find a way to think about what's best for kids, but also trying to make sure that they were able to grow and be held accountable. And you had this soft, motherly touch that I feel like our students really gravitated towards. And I tell you, from a school community, that's exactly what you want in a member who's going to support students, maybe on a one-to-one basis or in a classroom setting. And so for us, we're fortunate to have had you work with our students in our school community. And I have to tell you, since you've left, it's been a hard position to fill, a void to fill. Amongst our entire school community, you work with students in 4th grade and 3rd grade, and I can tell you that our students and our staff, we truly, sorely miss you, and we want to thank you for just your service to our school community and to our students. It means so much to honor you here this evening, and I apologize for the oversight on our part, but I'm glad we're able to come back together and spend some time and say thank you for the work that you've done for our students at Erdheim Elementary School, so thank you so much. What'd you say?
We had a double team before.
We did. Yes.
No, not here.
Okay.
But we will get it. Right. Dr. Rittenhouse?
Trying to get with the times and not use the paper here. It's not working too well. So our next retiree is Sharon Vecchione. She's here with her daughter this evening, and she has been with the school district for 16 years. She has worked in classrooms as an instructional aide, one-on-one, assisting teachers, assisting teachers in special ed and regular ed. She also has been the advisor for the Interact Club for the last 5 years, and under her tutelage, it has grown. They have raised thousands of dollars for charitable causes. That's through the Springfield Township Rotary Club, also requiring students to complete service hours. Perhaps most importantly, she's been our detention monitor, and I intentionally don't go through that room sometimes coming out from the buses. So. But she has been the detention monitor Tuesdays and Thursdays after school. She also has been, for as long as I've been there, for 5 years, our game manager. And a game manager assists Mr. Ortiz, Mr. Ferraro, and helps out with practices, helps sign in game managers, and basically is almost the athletic director in the afternoon. It's a difficult job with a lot of hours in the afternoons, and we do appreciate her doing that. She lives in her district like me, and her children have attended Springfield Township High School, and we appreciate everything she's done. Sharon Vecchione.
That's it for the ones who are here. So the next part of the evening, and I guarantee that this is not going to be something that you want to stay for necessarily, is the Dr. Hacker proposed final budget presentation. So for those of you who this is not going to be the most exciting part of your evening, if you'd like to leave, this is a great time to do so now. If you'd like to stay, you're certainly welcome to stay. But
All right, I'm going to go through really quickly. Ready? Here we go. Okay, here's what the budget represents. All the good stuff that we want to do for kids in this district. We have to worry about wants and needs of different constituents,
and priorities that we feel are important in terms of what we need to accomplish, and it's not an easy task. So we have to look at everything that we do in the district, and we've boiled it down to several key areas. Obviously, we have to have competitive academic programs. We are in an area where there are numerous private schools. We have to compete with those schools. We want kids to continue all the way up through our 12th grade program. We want families to move into the community so that we can maintain a robust community where housing prices are competitive as well, because people want to live in a quality school district. We want to make sure that we look at kids holistically and that we provide a wide array of extracurricular activities and clubs that they can participate in, because we know that's what makes great, well-rounded kids, is when they don't just go home after school, but that they participate in meaningful activities where they learn leadership skills and other important skills. We want to be able to attract and maintain a robust staff. It's important to get them to want to come and work in our school district, whether it's the people that you just saw, the instructional assistants, teachers, administrators, bus drivers. We want them to come and work with us, and we want to keep them here. So we have to be careful about how do we do that and offer competitive salaries. And at the same time, we also want to maintain our district facilities. This board has done an amazing job of showing its commitment to improving, renovating, and also building new facilities that our kids can take advantage of and that they can spend their time in. So all of this is important, and at the same time, we as administrators have a responsibility to present a budget to all of you, the Board of School Directors, that focuses on efficiencies so that we're doing the best that we can without putting too much of a strain, as you see in the picture, on the wallets of our taxpayers. So this is the continuous cycle. Believe it or not, the budget process begins as early as October. So very shortly after we get back in the beginning of a new school year, we're going to be looking at the budget for the year 2019-20. It's hard to believe, but we start that early. We always look at historical patterns in terms of our spending in order to kind of have benchmarks for where do we need to be for the following year. We look at our current enrollment figures and our projected enrollment figures in order to be able to think about class size. We begin to look at staffing. Are we going to need additional staff in any areas? Are people planning on retirements? Do we have leaves of absence coming up? So all of this is critical information gathering that we're primarily doing from the very beginning of the school year all through the spring. And as we begin to get more information in, benefits information from our benefits providers, PSERS information, state revenue information, budget from the state, then we're able to put that information into the budget, and we're able to figure out how much revenue do we have and balance that against the expenses that we're going to have. It's, as you can see, continuous, meaning we have to constantly revise earlier estimates. And the primary time that we do that is between January, when we pass the preliminary budget, and June, of course, when we pass the final budget. So this is a look back just to refresh your memories. Our goal is always to be able to at least get to the Act 1 index in terms of a tax increase over the previous year. This year, the Act 1 index set by the state was 2.4%, slightly less than last year. And as you can see, that would have enabled us to have raised slightly under $1 million over the previous year. Instead, in January, when we looked at all of the information that we had compiled, we looked at all of our expenses, we were way over that. We were actually more than double that. And as a result, the tax increase was set at around 4.94%. So we always like to say when we do the preliminary budget presentation in January that it's almost a useless exercise. It kind of gives us a marker, but it isn't really a true reflection of where we know we're going to be between January and June. So we knew that we had to overcome that significant deficit of a little more than $1 million before we would be ready to present a final proposed budget to the board. So this gives you an idea of where we are in terms of our expenditures over a 5-year period of time. And if you go back to the 2014-15 school year, we were slightly under $50 million. Where we are today in terms of expenses, we're slightly over $58 million. So you can see about $1.5 million is the increase in the budget in each of those 5 years. So it kind of scaffolds it up a little bit every single year between each one of those years. And you're going to see very shortly what some of the reasons are behind those continuous increases. So where does it come from? Where do we get the money to balance off what our expenses are going to be? So what this slide shows you is a comparison of the monies coming in, again, over a significant period of time. This time it's 6 years. Our revenue from the state, from the federal government, and local. So as you can see here, we get very, very little money, comparatively speaking, from the state when you look at the money that we have to raise through local property taxes. And of course, the federal government gives us virtually nothing. So this year, we have about $10.5 million that we're getting from the state. It's actually only an increase of about $350,000 from last year. So state funding, unfortunately, really does not increase the way it should over time. And when that happens, coupled with less federal dollars actually this year, then what that shows you is the burden really does fall, unfortunately, on taxpayers in the community, which again points to the fact that we are considered a wealthy district in the state of Pennsylvania. So the money has to come somewhere, and I'll refer back to that very first slide where I talked about competing needs and priorities. I had an email today from a parent who was concerned about courses at the high school. And is my student going to be able to get into the electives that he would like to get into? Because we have more study halls. So in order to try to respond to that parent's concern and the concern of many other parents, we have to balance whether or not it's worth it, in our opinion, to hire more staffing at the high school. When class sizes go up at the elementary school level, as they did this year in 4th grade in particular, I have to speak with Mr. McLaurin, who is begging and pleading, can't we please hire another teacher? Otherwise, I'm going to have 28 children in a class. We have to decide, are we okay with that? Or do we feel it's better to have 24 children in a classroom in 4th grade? Those are the questions that we have to answer, and that we have to be prepared to stand in front of our taxpayers and say, we believe in smaller class size. We believe it's better for children, so we're going to make that investment. And when that happens, the local revenue source, unfortunately, has to climb. So these show you the revenue sources and what actually comprises some of those. Again, here's our total revenue. And if you remember back to the expenses slide, that number was different. That's because we have a tax increase. When the revenue number is different than what our expenses are costing us, that means we need more money that we have to raise through taxes. So here's our state revenue figure. You see it's about $10.5 million compared to the total revenue that we need, the federal revenue figure, and the local revenue figure. This slide, the state revenue, shows you what that's made up of. Our basic ed subsidy, money that we get from the state for special education, money we get from the state to help us fund transportation expenses. PSERS, they pay half of the PSERS, we pay the rest in the school district. And then, of course, the homestead rebate program. Federal revenue, the number is small because we only get very little funding. Title I for impoverished students, Title II for class size reduction and professional development, very small number, only $62,000, and access funding to help offset some medical needs for students with disabilities. And then, of course, the local revenue figure is not just local taxes, but it also includes other revenue sources that we have, which come in from either delinquent taxes or our share of the earned income tax. So this gives you an idea of where the expenses on the expense side of the budget are spent. And what's really important about this is the two biggest pieces of the pie. These two figures alone, this $41 million, is all salaries and benefits. And as I always like to say each year, that's the business we're in. We serve kids, and the services we provide are provided by human beings. We don't have products. We have to invest in human capital. Our staff members, all of the staff, whether it's our bus drivers, our secretaries, our instructional assistants, guidance counselors, nurses, they all perform essential functions that help kids become who they are, as many of you saw at graduation. We want to send them out into the world as productive citizens. Each one of those staff members plays a critical role in doing that. All of the other portions of the budget are actually very, very small. So when people say, can you cut the budget? There really are very few places to cut because we don't spend a lot in these areas. If we really wanted to make a dent in cutting the budget, we'd really have to cut staff because staff cost the most. Supplies and equipment, believe it or not, very little. Our supplies is right here, the white wedge. That's for the entire school district. And if you're a parent, you know we don't skimp on supplies. We don't skimp on the textbooks our kids have. They have great technology. We don't skimp there. But it simply doesn't cost what the human capital costs. So these are our expense priorities for 2018-19. These are the commitments that we've made over the years and are maintaining. So I just want to point out some of the ones that you see year after year. You know that we've been involved in a one-to-one initiative with our students. We're actually looking towards bringing in more Apple iPads along with our Chromebooks because we know that the apps on the Apple iPads have really significant learning opportunities and can change the way kids are learning in the classroom. They cost the same as the Chromebooks, which is the good news, and they have the same capabilities that we're already seeing in the Chromebook uses. So we're exploring this as part of a new initiative. But our lease is up with the Chromebooks, so we have to replace them in order to ensure that every student will have his or her own device. That's been a critical priority in the district for the past several years. We have contractual obligations. The board is well aware, that we just settled 2 contracts with our support staff and with our confidential staff. That took a lot of hard work and effort in order to make sure that we held the line on salaries and benefits and other things that were requested by those groups. Happy to say we did a great job. Thanks to Ken King for his spreadsheets and Emily for her benefits information, which really helped with that. But we have to maintain those and our professional staff obligations as well. We have new debt. As you know, the board has approved new debt because of our construction projects. And by the way, when you see the tax increase and how much we've reduced it from January, that's including all of our debt that we have up until this point. So you will see that our tax increase is leveled with what it's been over the past 6 years. And that includes all of this. Our bus replacement, we've been on that schedule for the past several years. We have allocated money in the budget every single year, and it's the same amount of money that we put into the bus replacement schedule. Our buses were aging. We were concerned about safety for the students. We made a commitment with the board several years ago to buy new buses every single year over a period of time. And because we're committing the same amount, the percentage of the budget that takes up decreases every single year, even though the dollar amount remains the same. When we hire new teachers for class size reduction, we still need a whole nother classroom to put that teacher in for that additional class. So we need new desks, new chairs, new equipment, new textbooks for that extra class of kids as well. You heard me say when we were honoring Dr. Atkinson that this year we were working on math curriculum revision. So as you're aware, and we presented the math curriculum review materials to the Academic Affairs Committee, we have to purchase the materials for those new programs at both the elementary and the middle school level. And then these are our new staff members. Some of these you already are familiar with. Several of them have already been approved. We have a new 4th grade teacher coming in, which I previously mentioned because of increased class size. This was already budgeted for. A new kindergarten teacher. We all know that every single year we are getting more and more children who want to be with Mrs. Van Voren at Enfield. She's just bringing them all in. Those registrations keep increasing. Actually, our pre-summer registration is the highest it's ever been. We have more students at this point in the year before the new school year than ever before. So if there are any naysayers out there saying, what do you mean you have increasing enrollments? Talk to that lady over there and to Mr. McLaurin, who's now feeling the effects of that as well. And they're coming up. They're coming up through the middle school, and they're coming up through the high school. Some of you may have heard that there has been some chatter about too many kids in study halls at the high school and about concerns over that. So we finally put our heads together and said, okay, let's take a look at the data. What is the data really showing us? And the data didn't show us anything really significantly different than in the past. However, even though there wasn't a huge jump in terms of the kids not getting courses they requested, we still felt it wasn't good enough. We still felt it was important for kids to be in real content area electives instead of study halls. So we are decreasing that, and in this same budget, we've allocated money for a high school business teacher. The high school administrators looked at the schedule. We had the most number of unfulfilled elective requests in the area of business education, marketing, finance, some of the computer science. And so what we have decided to do is to split the teacher with the middle school. We're going to offer a new course at the middle school, a much needed course because of social media on digital citizenship. We're going to relinquish Mrs. Thornton to come back up to the high school. She'll now be able to be there full-time and offer more electives in theater and performing arts. So between business and theater and performing arts, we'll be able to fill about 5 more electives than we thought we were going to be able to do before. So great solution. Again, you'll see when I show you the tax impact with very minimal increase into the budget. And as you know from previous discussions, we made Mr. Ferraro our full-time athletic director. So our new assistant principal, who will be coming in to replace Mr. Ortiz, can focus solely on students and curriculum and instruction and student clubs as opposed to athletics and spending his time there. And we think that's worked out really, really well so far. And then, of course, Mrs. Davis, Lauren Davis, is back to full speed. We're very, very grateful. So we've hired her back full-time. She's been doing extraordinary work in terms of gifted support, truancy, attendance, homelessness, all kinds of different areas in pupil services. She's been a phenomenal addition in the special ed department, so we're happy to have Lauren back full-time. So this shows you tax increases over time, and here we are for 2018-19. Even with the debt, even with the addition of those new positions, which we believe are all necessary, we're lower than last year, and we're lower than we were in 2012-2013. And we're fairly level and consistent with where we've been. And that's always been our philosophy. Our philosophy is if we're going to have tax increases in order to meet the needs of our kids, we don't want to spike. We don't want to have a really big one year and a zero the next year. We want them to be fairly level and consistent over time, so the impact isn't huge any one particular year. So that 2.08%, I think, translates out really, really well in terms of our responsibility to the taxpayers, despite everything you see going on around you with all the construction. So here's how it looks like. Let's take last year. The monthly tax increase was $9.16. We've decreased that this year. It'll come to, for the average taxpayer, $8.49. The highest, as you can see, was 10 years ago when it was $20. The yearly tax increase comes down from about $110 to $102. We averaged slightly under 2% in the last 5 years, but in the previous 9 years, the average increase was actually over 4%. So we've really done well over the last several years, despite the fact that in 10 years, we've increased the population by 25%. We've gone up nearly 500 students, and yet look how we've been able to maintain a reasonable percentage in terms of the current increase. So I just want to thank Ken again for all of his hard work in, I don't want to say manipulating the numbers because that doesn't sound really good, but he's the one that compiles all the data. Much of it has been provided by Emily, especially in terms of all the different benefits, the salaries, and just getting salaries into the budget with correct benefits that each employee has is really a massive task. They're constantly refining and revising that as we learn about leaves of absence and other things that are going on with staff. So my thanks to both of you for all your hard work, and thank you to the board for all of your support for everything that we're trying to accomplish.
Thank you, Nancy. We really appreciate your presentation. It's very clear and thorough, as always.
We'll put this on the website.
Okay. All right, so moving on to new business, number 1, personnel. Personnel attachment, recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the following personnel as presented in the attachment: certificated personnel, support personnel, temporary personnel, extended school year, extra pay for extra responsibilities, conference workshop attendance. Is there a motion? And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Chapman. Aye. Ms. Jordan. Aye. Ms. Nelson.
Aye.
Ms. Sarsfield.
Aye.
Ms. Lipinski. Aye. Dr. Karatowski.
Aye. Number 2, 2018-2019 budget items. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the attached budget resolutions for the following 2018-2019 budget items. Attachment MMM. A, the 2018-2019 school year expenditure budget in the amount of $58,039,850, requiring a tax rate of 33.0654 mils, representing an increase of 0.6741 mils, or an increase of 2.081% over the current tax rate. And B, the resolution for the homestead farmstead exclusion as required by a special session Act 1 of 2006 in order for taxpayers to receive taxpayer relief funds. 5,315 households will receive a reduction in the amount of $361 from their tax bills. Is there a motion? Motion. And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Yes.
Having just seen my first budget presentation with Dr. Hacker, and hearing Ms. Jordan's comment that the whole community should be engaged in seeing that budget. I just wanted to recognize it was an incredibly thoughtful approach. I think it addresses the challenges that the administration sees in serving our community. It's very thoughtful to the community itself in addressing the tax increase as well. So that was a very well thought out budget. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for that.
Any other comments, questions? Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Chapman.
Aye.
Ms. Jordan. Ms. Nelson. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Lipinski. Dr. Terapesky.
Aye. Number 3, Nestle Waters Agreement, recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the service with Nestle Waters for the rental of a water cooler and replacement water in the amount of $600 annually. Is there a motion? Second? Any comments or questions?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Chapman.
Aye.
Ms. Jordan.
Aye.
Ms. Nelson. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Lipinski. Dr. Terapesky.
Aye. Number 4, Pico Pole Relocation, recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the construction agreement with Pico for the relocation and installation of poles due to Springfield Township High School construction project in the amount of $12,438. Is there a motion? Motion. A second? Any comments or questions?
Was the relocation, was this a part of the original plans, or was this something that was added on or decided on after? Was it part of the original?
It's part of the original plans.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Chapman. Ms. Jordan. Ms. Nelson. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Lipinski. Dr. Terapesky.
Aye. Number 5, ELC Township Agreements, recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the following early learning center agreements with the Springfield Township, conditional upon further review. Attachment NNN. A, declaration of covenants, easements, and restrictions concerning stormwater facilities. B, land development and financial security agreement. C, memorandum of land development and financial security agreement. Is there a motion? And a second? Any comments or questions?
Could you just briefly let us know why it says conditional upon further review?
Yes, ma'am. We're still have one more review of our solicitor. These agreements have been in place for the stadium as well as the high school, and now this is for the ELC. What's different about this one is we had to change banks for the escrow, so there were some language changes that we're still working out with the township.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Chapman. Ms. Jordan. Ms. Nelson. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Lipinski. Dr. Terapesky.
Aye. Number 6, high school football team overnight trip, recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the high school football team to attend football camp at Albright College in Reading, PA, from July 20th, 2018 through July 22nd, 2018. Is there a motion? Motion. And a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Chapman. Ms. Jordan. Ms. Nelson. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Lipinski. Dr. Terapesky.
Aye. Number 7, high school varsity basketball team overnight trip, recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the high school varsity basketball team to attend basketball camp at Albright College in Reading, PA, from June 30th, 2018 to July 1st, 2018. Is there a motion? Motion. Second? Okay. Comments or questions? Okay, Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Chapman. Ms. Jordan. Ms. Nelson. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Lipinski. Dr. Terapesky.
Aye. Number 8, high school field hockey team overnight trip. The Board of School Directors approves the high school field hockey team to attend field hockey camp at Spooky Nook Sports Complex in Manheim, PA, from July 18th, 2018 to July 21st, 2018. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Okay, Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Chapman.
Aye.
Ms. Jordan. Sarsfield. Aye. Ms. Lipinski. Aye. Dr. Terapes.
Aye. Number 9, high school baseball team overnight trip. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the high school baseball team to attend baseball spring training camp in Fort Pierce, Florida in March 2019. Exact dates to be determined. Is there a motion? Second? Any comments or questions?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Chapman.
Aye.
Ms. Jordan.
Aye.
Ms. Nelson.
Aye.
Ms. Sarsfield.
Aye.
Ms. Lipinski. Dr. Terapes.
Aye. Number 10, Linkit Software License Agreement. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the Linkit Software License Agreement effective July 1, 2018 for the 2018-2019 school year, inclusive of training and setup fees for a total cost of $24,446. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second? Second. Any comments or questions?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Chapman.
Aye.
Ms. Jordan. Ms. Nelson.
Aye.
Ms. Sarsfield.
Aye.
Ms. Lipinski. Dr. Terapes.
Aye. Number 11, Collective Bargaining Agreement, STEPSA. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the motion to ratify a collective bargaining agreement between the School District of Springfield Township and the Springfield Township Educational Support Personnel Association, effective July 1, 2018 through June 30th, 2021. Is there a motion? And a second? Second. Comments or questions? Okay. Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Chapman.
Aye.
Ms. Jordan.
Aye.
Ms. Nelson.
Aye.
Ms. Sarsfield.
Aye.
Ms. Lipinski. Dr. Terapes.
Aye. Employment agreement, number 12, confidential supervisory staff. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves a compensation and benefits plan between the School District of Springfield Township and the confidential supervisory personnel effective July 1, 2018 through June 30th, 2021. Is there a motion? And a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Chapman.
Aye.
Ms. Jordan. Ms. Nelson. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Lipinski.
Aye. I hope everyone read the next one. Number 13, employment agreement, business administrator. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the employment agreement between Ken King and the School District of Springfield Township effective July 1, 2018 through June 30th, 2023. Is there a motion? Motion. Second? Second. Any comments or questions?
Will Dr. Hacker be giving a presentation?
Yes.
No presentation, but my strong recommendation that if we don't want the budgetary system of the school district to fall apart, you will affirmatively vote on this.
No pressure, so that's okay. Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Chapman.
Aye.
Ms. Jordan. Ms. Nelson. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Lipinski. Dr. Terapes.
Aye. Thank you. Number 14, Policy 103, Non-Discrimination in School and Classroom Practices, Revision. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the suggested revisions to Policy 103, Non-Discrimination in School and Classroom Practices, Attachment 000. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second? Either one of them. Comments or questions?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Chapman.
Aye.
Ms. Jordan. Ms. Nelson. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Lipinski. Dr. Terapes.
Aye. Number 15, E-rate application services agreement. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the agreement for the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit to provide E-rate services to Springfield Township School District for the 2019-2020 E-rate funding year cycle in the amount of $6,000. Is there a motion? And a second? Okay. Comments or questions? Okay, Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Chapman.
Aye.
Ms. Jordan. Ms. Nelson. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Stepinski. Dr. Terrell.
Aye. Number 16, MCIU Service Agreement, recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the agreement for the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit to provide Discovery Education Streaming Basic Package to Springfield Township School District from July 1, 2018 through June 30th, 2019 in the amount of $2,174.55. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second? Second. Any comments or questions? Mr. King?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Chapman.
Aye.
Ms. Jordan. Ms. Nelson. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Stepinski. Dr. Terrell.
Aye. Number 17, overnight athletic field trips, tournaments, and playoffs. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves various 2018-2019 athletic overnight field trips as per the attached. Attachment PPP. Is there a motion? Motion. And a second? Second. Any comments or questions?
Mr. Bedard.
Aye.
Mr. Chapman.
Aye.
Ms. Jordan. Ms. Nelson. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Stepinski. Dr. Terrell.
Aye. Any comments on non-agenda items? Okay, seeing none. Future meeting dates, interim board meeting Tuesday, August 7th, 2018 at 7 p.m. in the middle school library, and regular school board meeting Tuesday, August 21st, 2018, 7 p.m. in the middle school library.
Just one comment. I just wanted to thank all of the administrators. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for all of your hard work and efforts for a wonderful school year. I hope that each one of you will get an opportunity to relax and take some time off, as I plan to do. And I hope that all of our families and our students and staff members also have a very safe and happy summer, and to all the board members as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great summer. Thank you.